Have you ever tried to figure out how much environmental consulting actually costs, only to get vague answers like calls for a quote or hey, it's going to depend? Well, it's not a cop-out, it actually really does depend. But that doesn't mean that today we can't give you some real numbers or even just a ballpark idea on what it costs to hire an environmental expert in 2025. Think of environmental consulting like asking, how much does a house cost? Well, it can depend on the location, the size, and the features, and what you actually want out of a home. Well, the same goes for any environmental professional out there. What you need, the complexity of your site, the regulations, and what your goals are, and how much support you really need can all affect the bottom line of a project. Here's some of what we typically see out there. Full environmental programs, the kind that include audits, permits, plans, reporting, and support, can often range between $10,000 to over $100,000, depending on how many locations and moving parts are involved. Single compliance items like a stormwater permit can typically range from $1,000 to $10,000 or more, depending on the type of permit, what state you're in, and how much support is needed in pulling together the required information. Now, environmental documentation such as SWIPs, SPCC plans, or waste management plans can generally fall between, again, $1,500 to $10,000 to $15,000 or so, depending on whether you need a quick update or a full plan built from scratch for a complex facility. Now, reporting like TRI or Tier 2 generally, again, is going to start around that $1,000 to $2,000 range, but can quickly go north of $10,000 for complex facilities, large projects, or really detailed calculation. And the list goes on. This is just a snapshot of the most common services and the most common price ranges that we hear about from others in our field, our clients, and through industry information online. So what actually drives costs for environmental consulting in 2025? Well, same stuff that drives costs in any industry, such as the facility size, the complexity of your operation, the industry you're in, where you're located, the regulations that apply, the urgency of your project, the existing compliance or documentation levels, and how much ongoing support you're going to need in the short and long term. Well, that's a lot to say. It all depends. And again, it really does depend. So what do we charge as environmental consultants? It depends. At RMA, we don't do cookie cutter quotes. We look at your site, your goals, and your requirements, and then build a scope, timeline, and price that fits. That way, you're not overpaying for things you don't need, and you're not undercovered when it matters the most. The truth is, good environmental consulting isn't cheap, but neither is getting it wrong. Fines, delays, shutdown, and missed deadlines can all cost a lot more than doing things right in the first place. This is an investment in keeping your business protected, compliant, and moving forward. So if you're budgeting for environmental consulting in 2025 and you want some real answers, some real ballpark numbers, and not just some guesswork, let's talk. We'll walk you through what you can expect, ask you a bunch of questions about your needs, and we'll help you get a clear understanding on what is needed to move you forward. No pressure, no fluff, just a straight call with some smart planning.